between Miller, Coors, and Anheuser-Busch, they control 65% of the U.S. beer industry. Imports make up a big chunk, and I think, quote-unquote, craft beer is about 15%.
Back East Brewing Company kind of started in 2004. My cousin Ed and I started home brewing in his garage in Southington. Go there every Saturday, spend the whole day brewing, learning as much as we could about the brewing process. Talk about opening a brewery. At the time, there was less than a handful of breweries in Connecticut. And we said, well, you know, I mean, let's do it. What do we have to lose? The worst thing that could happen is we can fail, and then we'll have to go back and get jobs somewhere else.
The family that I grew up in, it was about gathering together, seeing everybody, having a beer, having a glass of wine with everyone. My grandfather made wine when I was younger, so that kind of got the whole family into the tasting, everything like that. He's definitely the reason I started. I was like, well, he makes wine. I'm not a huge wine fan, but I like beer. The first batch is never going to come out good, but your heart and your soul is in it. So this is 5 gallons in my basically a dorm room type setup. I was like, it doesn't really taste like anything I've had at the liquor store, but I made it. And from that very first batch, it was like that aha moment of like, I'm in school for the wrong thing. I should be brewing. The family's definitely supportive. My dad comes into the tap room 5 days a week. My mom comes in and helps me with some of the little accounting things. On the opening day, my family thought it was great, and they jumped behind the bar to help us. We were so busy that my dad was working with me, my mom was cleaning off tables. For 7 hours straight, there was a line of 50 people out the door trying to get in. I think every craft brewery has its own family following, its own family vibes to it. Customers and our family and everything kind of intertwines, and I think that's the beauty of the industry. Family, brewery, friends, it all kind of mushes together as one. So not only do everybody have that close-knit group at each brewery, all the brewers themselves, we all work together, which is a lot more than most industries can say. I can call any brewery right now. It's funny, right before we started this, Chris from BBC just texted me. I've definitely been down in Sawtony at Back East, so you got a great operation. I mean, it's a very close-knit group where we all communicate with each other, talk about, you know, why are cans not showing up? Are you having these issues? How do we fix this? Or just, have you ever used this ingredient? If I was putting a roof on a house and I called a competitor down the road and say, hey, what kind of nails are you using? He's gonna hang up the phone and be like, oh, he's trying to steal my technique. That's not what we're doing in the brewing world. We're helping each other make better beer. I can't speak for everybody, but 19 out of 20 brewers that I meet all have the same mindset that working together is way better than doing things separated.
On my cell phone, I probably have the names of probably 15 owners of different various breweries. So we're talking, you know, text messaging, borrowing things, trading things, that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of camaraderie among the craft brewers because we've always been the little guys. It's always been David versus Goliath. I'd want to see somebody drinking a Two Roads beer rather than, say, a macro beer because I know that that person is more likely to be a customers of ours as well. But yeah, I mean, once that competition ratchets up, that camaraderie might pose a challenge. It might get to the point where the craft beer industry is oversaturated. I think there's a lot of small breweries that are now competing with each other. We have a brewery here. There's one 4 miles down the road. There's one 6 miles that way. There's one 8 miles that way. There's one 12 miles that way that's just opening up. I wouldn't necessarily want to see a particular brewery struggle and go out of business. You know, you do want to see other people to succeed. I mean, it is really our industry collectively. But at the end of the day, we're also competitors too.
There's competition in any type of business. but we're all so small in the grand scheme of how much the big players make that if 5 more breweries open in Enfield, it's not going to change what we do. It's probably going to make more people see good beer, and it'll benefit everybody. Everybody learns about new breweries by going to other breweries, and other friends that go with them, now they find the love for craft beer.
The craft beer industry is on a pretty strong growth path. We opened up almost 7 years ago, and since we opened up here in Connecticut, we've seen the number of breweries go from less than 10 to close to 80.
I would say all the growth is due to the industry itself, the mentality of the brewers. I think a big part of it is the families that we talked about that grow in these small breweries. They don't just stick it out at one. They go to other breweries and talk about the one they were just at.
I think one of the biggest reasons that breweries fail is that they get into the industry not knowing what they're doing.
It's pretty easy to just hear what everybody says and make the styles that everybody wants. Right now, the entire United States as a whole in the craft beer world kind of says IPAs are a favorable thing. Sours are definitely popular, but the gross numbers show that IPAs are very favorable, so we do make a lot of those.
If you're not, you're not going to be around for too long if you're not making beers that people want.
Over 7 years, we've certainly had our share of mistakes, our share of growing pains. We opened up when craft beer was a different model. We were essentially factories. Now, if you talk to most craft brewers, you're going to find out that really what they're doing is they're running bars where they sell their own beer. We'll have to see. But I mean, certainly there's more breweries than ever in the history of the United States. If we got to the point where we had to shut our doors, it'd be very upsetting, obviously. I mean, this is my family, my cousin's family. Our lives are built around this. The things like that do happen. Currently, there were no danger of that happening, but who's to say 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road what things are going to look like. I hope that doesn't happen to us, but if it is, then, it'll be sad. Yeah.